Are you going through a battle with infertility and feel like you're all alone? I'm here to tell you you're not alone. My name is Valerie Tom, and I'm doing this video for several reasons. First of all, I think that infertility and child loss is way under discussed as a society. Um, I know that as I was, jotting down some notes for this video, October is National Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, which is, I think it's incredible to bring some light to it. And I believe that April is, I think it's National Infertility Month. But recently I had a family member, speak out that they had a early miscarriage. I had a Facebook friend that had reached out to me to hear a little bit more about my story because she was going through her own struggle. So I thought it was a great opportunity to make it more visible, talk about my struggle openly, and hopefully others can do the same because it's a really lonely journey. You feel like a failure, you feel secretly ashamed, so you don't want to discuss it. And you don't realize how many other people are going through it too. So realize you're not alone. It sucks, not minimizing that, but you're not alone. So let me just tell you a little bit about my journey. I got married at 23, and in my 20s, I really wasn't ready for kids. I turned 30 and I was like, you know what? I think it's time. I'm ready. And just expected it to happen. It was just, I'm ready. Let's go. Well, it wasn't that easy. So we started trying to have a baby. I believe it was probably around August or September of 2007. I had turned 30 in June. It's tough now. I'm 43, so we're talking about 13 years ago, so it's tough to remember dates and everything, but the dates aren't important. It's just it wasn't happening. So we tried for about a year, and I didn't want to admit there was a problem. I thought, we'll just keep trying. Well, I'm a problem solver. I can make anything work if I work hard enough at it. I just didn't want to accept that there was a problem. So I kind of, ignored that there was a problem, and we're just going to keep trying. So when that didn't work and caused a lot of extra stress on our marriage, finally decided to talk to my gynecologist about it. Like, look, we're having a little bit of struggle. They're like, oh, well, a year really isn't that long. Felt like forever. But they, I forget how long it took, but they put me on, I think it was Clomid, to help regulate my cycle. And after, I think it was only maybe a month or two on Clomid, I was able to get pregnant, but I had an early miscarriage, and then within another couple months. So eventually we decided we needed to see a fertility specialist and actually have things, checked out and both be tested. And that's a really difficult process to go through because you don't want it to be your fault. So it's difficult for the woman, it's difficult for the man. It just sucks, but you got to look into it. Eventually you can't keep sticking your head in the sand if it's not happening. You got to figure out why it's not happening. So we went to a fertility specialist and discussed our options. So first of all, we both got tested. Everything looked fine. There's no reason you shouldn't be getting pregnant. So we were presented with the options of IVF, in vitro fertilization, and IUI. And I apologize, I forget what IUI stands for, but basically the difference that I understood was there was a much higher success rate with IVF because there's a lot of monitoring, and you're actually putting the sperm into the egg and fertilizing it, versus IUI when they basically just shoot the sperm right into the woman. So at this point, I didn't want to go through IUI if I didn't have to. Some fertility specialists, I think, will insist on it, but I didn't want to waste any more time. Discussed it, and we decided to go with IVF. So definitely recommend people that are considering it. At the time, I was at a corporate job, and I had really good insurance, thankfully. So a lot of the IVF was covered through insurance. So if you're considering it, definitely check that out. We had to pay hundreds of dollars over the course of our journey on, co-pays for medicine. And so definitely it wasn't cheap, but some people pay thousands of dollars for the treatment if their insurance doesn't cover it as much. So know your options as far as that's concerned, and definitely discuss it with your insurance. So sorry, I'm just looking at some of my notes so I make sure that I cover everything that I wanted to. So I believe with that fertility specialist, I believe that we went through 4 rounds of IVF. Anybody that's been through it, IVF sucks, but you gotta do what you gotta do if that's the route that you want to go to. There's all these shots, and there's all this monitoring, and there's all these doctor's visits, and it's definitely not easy. But after 4 rounds, our fertility specialist didn't know what else to do. She said, I don't know what else the problem could be. I don't know. So when you're staring at a specialist that's supposed to be helping you and they're saying, I don't know, we were like, what the fuck? Thanks for not knowing. So we got referred to another fertility specialist. And I believe it was when we started consulting with him, was when they inadvertently, from, some other stuff that was going on with me, they had done some tests and found out I had thyroid cancer. So I had my thyroid removed. In the process of this, they wanted to do a radiation pill. And that would have meant that I would have had to wait another year to be able to try and get pregnant. I was like, no. I think that they said that it would decrease my chances of reoccurrence by 20%. We discussed it and just decided it wasn't, at that stage, given all that we had gone through, it wasn't worth it. So as all of this is happening, we've got friends that have had their first child, and everybody around me everywhere was getting pregnant. I'm like, there's something in the water. What the fuck? I'm not drinking the right water. This sucks. And of course I was very happy for people and wish them the best. And, I wasn't so negative that I couldn't be happy for other people, but it's like, what the hell is wrong with me? Why am I not getting pregnant? Why is this not working for me? If I have to go to one more baby shower, or as friends that had started around a similar time start having their second kid, I'm like, are you kidding me right now? And they say not to get stressed out, and they say to relax. Yeah, it's really easy when you're calculating all this shit and you're totally stressed out, and maybe it'll just happen. Come on. So after we got through the cancer battle, then we had already started talking. So we started our IVF round with the new fertility specialist. He was awesome. I loved him. We had discussed that being our last round. And to be honest, our results sucked. We had better results at the other fertility specialist as far as, fertilized embryos and all that shit. They started doing some other testing, and they were doing testing. I don't remember the exact name of it. I apologize. But we ended up going through Boston IVF in Waltham. They were awesome. Dr. Alper was incredible. But the results, so they were doing some testing on day 5 embryo instead of day 3, and, did some genetic testing that was a couple $1,000, which sucked, but, good to rule those things out. And again, nothing that was explained, no reason that it was happening. So I just couldn't end. I have trouble giving up on things in general. I think I can solve anything if I work hard enough at it, which is a good thing, but it's a bad thing. Sometimes you need to know when to walk away. And I couldn't end on that. So we discussed it. We decided to go one more round. So I was getting massages to relax me, which is not cheap. I was getting acupuncture for infertility, which is not cheap, but it was amazing. And the acupuncturist that I had, she was incredible. So I definitely, think that made a difference, in my state of mind, and that I was doing something different. I was trying to control something, myself. So the last round of IVF that we did, we ended up having incredible results. There was like 13 embryos that fertilized, blah, blah, blah. The best that we had, but it just wasn't meant to be. So at that point I was like, okay, I'm ready to stop. I'm ready to stop the shots in the stomach and the shots in the ass. And, everything that you give up, that you are, I love to ride motorcycles, and I wasn't, because every time I thought, okay, we're trying again and I might be pregnant, I don't want to, just in case. So there was so much of my life that I gave up willingly, happily, not always happily, but if the outcome had been a child, it would have all been worth it. it just wasn't meant to be. And that was really tough to give up on. But enough was enough of torturing myself. So everybody's journey is going to be different. Everybody is going to want to go through different stages, different feelings. So don't feel bad for how you feel. Just be authentic and talk to your partner about how you feel. Be open and honest with each other and communicate is probably the best advice I can give you. And don't feel bad if a situation isn't right. So earlier on, we had talked about the potential of adopting, and I was just like, yeah, no, not something that I'm interested in. Might be for some people, but not for us. So when it became that we had no other options, we kind of batted around a little bit and then, discussed it more seriously. And my husband was the one that wanted to look into it more than I did. So I was kind of like, you know what, let's just see what happens. We looked into the process. We went through getting certified, all that, which is a sucky process. But again, you do what you got to do. We'd given up on the possibility of getting a newborn because that just wasn't realistic with adoption. And by the way, we live in Massachusetts, so we were doing we were looking to adopt through the state. You can look into private adoption. For us, that just didn't seem feasible money wise. With the state, you don't pay, so that was kind of our best option. The other thing, just to mention, sorry, to take a step back, there were other options for us as far as infertility in getting a surrogate, getting a donor egg, getting donor sperm, having all of these other options, but where everything was so unexplained for infertility, I didn't know if we got a donor sperm, it would be a problem with my egg. If we got a donor egg, it would be a problem with the sperm. If I tried to carry it again with the donor egg or the sperm or both, was it going to work? If we had someone else carry it through a surrogate, was it going to work? And all of those options can be very expensive. Again, depends on your insurance, ask the right questions and figure out all that. But there are some other options available that we chose not to explore. Again, no judgment if you choose to or not. Basically, fuck you to anybody that judges your situation and what you're going through, because nobody knows you. Nobody knows your significant other. Nobody knows what it's like to live through that. So no judgment. You got to do what you got to do. So I just want to get really quick into our battle with or our journey through adoption, because I've had some questions about that as well. So if you feel like it's the right option for you, I definitely recommend going through with it. It took us a long time to get certified, which is not a fun process, but it is what it is. So after a year getting certified, having a couple of different cases come through for adoption, potential adoption, that just weren't the right situation. And that's the other thing. Don't just, if you do decide to go through adoption, don't just take the first thing that comes and say, oh my God, I'm so blessed to have it, and go with it. You've got to think about what is right. This is the rest of your life. What is the best for your family? So we were called probably a week before Christmas in 2015. We got a call that there was a potential baby to adopt. She was 3 days old at the hospital. Holy shit. This is a miracle situation in the adoption world, especially adopting through the state. Like, that we were hoping for a 2 or 3 year old, in thinking that we may have to go older than that, just because it's really, really, really difficult to get a newborn, but clearly not impossible. So we had 24 hours notice. So there were us and a couple of other couples they were considering. They ended up deciding to go with us because they felt like we were the best fit, which was amazing. So 24 hours notice, 4-day-old from the hospital, like, unbelievable. She's our little miracle a week before Christmas. Like, oh my God. So that little miracle is 4.5 now. And now I can look back and see that she was the one that I was meant to have, that we were meant to have. She's just incredible. But I couldn't, when you're going through the journey and through all that fight, you can't see it. And everybody's going to tell you, oh, it'll happen, and oh, this and that. And you're like, shut up. Don't tell me that. Don't. I don't want to hear it, because nobody understands, and you feel like you're all alone. So for me, my journey was meant to adopt her. Is that right for everybody? No, you've got to figure out what's right for you, and don't let anybody else judge you, your decisions, or your situation. Um, it was a difficult road. Even after we got our miracle child, they have to be in the home, I believe, in Massachusetts for 6 months before you can look into adopting, and before you can petition to adopt. So technically, we were fostering her. At any point, someone could have come forward and taken her from us. That's freaking scary. I walked out of the hospital and she was mine. So to have the potential of losing your child, if someone else comes forward and claims rights, is really, really scary. So I don't want to minimize that. Thankfully, everything worked out. In September of 2016, we were able to adopt her. And so we had, a shitty road, but a lucky road. So I just wanted to share a little bit of that, for other people to get some perspective. My journey is not your journey, is not anybody else's, but you're not alone. There are a lot of people that go through it. It sucks, but you can get through it with the right attitude, with the right motivation, with a million things. Mindset is a lot, but it's tough to keep your mindset up when you're going through all that crap. So this has been a little bit longer than I anticipated, so I'm going to end here. But if anybody has any follow-ups, please feel free to comment. I'm very open and happy to answer any questions. But I just wanted to share some of my journey. Hopefully that'll help others on theirs. Thank you so much. Take care and have a great day.